for mayor of St. Louis. He is an alderman in the city of St. Louis. First time he's been on the show. Jeffrey Boyd, welcome to Big 550 KTRS.
It's a pleasure being here. Good morning.
You have been an alderman for how long?
14 years.
And you are in what's your ward?
I represent the 22nd ward in the city of St. Louis.
That is one of the tougher wards out there, is it not?
It is the toughest ward to represent in the city of St. Louis.
Because why?
Because we are probably one of the most socially economically depressed neighborhoods in the city. We have over 1/3 of our community that's vacant lots and vacant buildings. Crime is high. We have a lot of people that's underemployed or unemployed.
Right.
And there are a lot of challenges that come with that.
You, as you said, alderman for 14 years, you decided to throw your hat into the ring as mayor up against some better-known candidates. Right, made a name for themselves. Antonio French during the Ferguson issue, Lyda Cruzen's bigger name recognition. Some of the others. Why is it, Jeffrey Boyd, that you think you would be better than some of these other people who have thrown their hat into the ring?
Sure. Well, my story is this, McGraw. I've spent over 23 years in the military. I'm a retired master sergeant. Again, I'm representing one of the toughest wards in the city of St. Louis for almost 14 years. I have a master's degree in business administration. I put it to good use. I've opened up 2 small businesses in my neighborhood against all odds. I've been married to my wife for 26 years. I have 3 children. All of our children have attended St. Louis public schools or are currently attending St. Louis public schools. I believe in our current educational system. I have a plan for the city of St. Louis. My wife and I, we made a conscious decision 26 years ago to move back in one of the most depressed neighborhoods in this city by choice. We grew up in that neighborhood. We remember being a vibrant community where Wellston Shopping District was the shopping mecca of our community. And so we said, we want to come back and make a difference. So we planted our roots there. I am the only candidate running in this race who've actually taken on tough challenges. And when you look at my experience and you look at my accomplishments against all odds, you will see that I stand out. Richard Barron told me in 2008,
Richard Barron, a developer in the city.
Developer in the city with McCormick, Barron, and Salazar. Right. I practically begged him to do development in my neighborhood because there was absolutely almost nothing going on. And it was depressing. And he told me, Jeffrey, you would not see that type of development of that magnitude you're asking for 15 or 20 years. That was hurtful, as if we didn't have the value that deserved that. But because of my relationships and my commitment to service, I was able to convince him, the Housing Authority, the Mayor's Administration, Freely Temple Church, and a team of other consultants to put together a $34 million housing development on Martin Luther King and Byrd Avenue. I'm proud of that. We saved a school that had been abandoned. Arlington School was abandoned for over 13 years. It was drug infested. It was prostitution, every social ill going on. It was a horrible school. I mean, the siting was horrible. They begged me to tear it down. The church begged me to tear it down. But I said, I have a vision. And I see one day that this school will be transformed into loft apartments. And we got it done. I'm a visionary. I see opportunity when other people see despair. And that sets me apart from the other candidates.
Jeffrey Boyd, our guest, wants to be your next mayor. March 9th is the primary. Watching the Board of Aldermen last week, I know you're not on the Ways and Means Committee, so you weren't directly involved in this MLS story last week, but watching City Hall work over the last number of years and months and weeks, it looks completely dysfunctional and that nothing could ever get done to help push the city in the right direction.
Yeah, I would say that, and that starts with leadership at the Board of Aldermen, quite frankly. It's an organization that has been divided by our current president, and that's very unfortunate. And oftentimes we're handed legislation at the last minute, which makes it very difficult to make a very logical and accurate decision on what's before you. And that becomes a real challenge.
Let's talk about race in the city, because it seems like you can't walk down the street without somebody throwing out race in one way, shape, or form. After Ferguson, so much of the city politics bled out into Ferguson, even though it was a county story. How bad of a racial problem is it? Is it more racial politics for the betterment of somebody getting elected, or are there really racial problems in the city of St. Louis?
There are absolutely racial problems in the city of St. Louis. But I'm of the mindset that we can do better. Having an opportunity to serve both in the United States and abroad, I'm very sensitive to different cultures. I'm very sensitive, want to understand cultural biases and how we can work together. In the city of St. Louis, we have way more in common than we disagree on. And we have to start working with that. We have a police department. You have the St. Louis Police Associations, and then you have the Ethical Society of Police. That's a problem within itself. You have a fire department that has Local 73, and then you have fire, a black organization, a white organization. We need to fix that. We need to come up with strategies, and we need a leader that can actually bring people together. If we can't bring our government together to work on one accord, it's very challenging to convince the community. But I will be a mayor that will get out in the community at least twice a year with town hall meetings and actually listen to the people. I want to be in touch with the people, just like I have my finger on the pulse in the 22nd Ward. I want to make sure as mayor, I have my finger on the pulse of the whole city, and that we're working on strategies and that we're rebuilding ourselves so that people can be proud of the city of St. Louis. But race is just one of the issues. And if we can get past that, we can do phenomenal things together.
What about crime? Because everybody says crime is the number one issue. You've obviously seen it firsthand living in your ward. What are your thoughts on crime as you watch the city of St. Louis?
Well, certainly. Having lost my nephew 18 months ago to gun violence, I'm very sensitive to the needs of our community and how we need to do something with public safety. See, I envision a police department that's well-staffed, adequately trained, and reflects the diversity of our community. And when I say training, I'm talking about training that involves diversity training and de-escalation. You see, I've worn the uniform, so I understand how in certain instances things could spiral out of control. But if we have the right training, we can have our police diffuse a situation where it's a peaceful resolve. I imagine a city where people feel welcome and they like to come here and they have a great experience and they tell other people about it. But police is just one component. When I think about public safety and I think about rebuilding our community, I think about all the vacant lots and the vacant buildings that you see in our distressed neighborhoods across the city. But there are opportunities there. I will be a mayor that puts a plan in place where we will select at least 3 of the toughest distressed neighborhoods in this city, and we take the federal funding that we get every year, and then we have developers bid on these 3 areas. See, right now, we react to developers' plans because we don't have a plan. We just spend all our resources reacting to developers. It's time out for that. It's time for a mayor that has a vision that says, hey, Mr. Developer, if you want these fundings, if you want all this tax abatement, if you want all these TIF incentives, here's where we need you to go. Because McGraw, if we build up our neighborhoods, crime goes down automatically. And so then we can start reallocating some of those resources. We can start having a police force where they have a department that does constant community engagement, where they're out in our schools, where our children first experience with the law enforcement is a good experience. Not
very similar to what you were saying with Richard Barron, where you went to him and you said, build something here. And he said, you're crazy, but you ended up getting it done.
Absolutely. And that's real leadership.
Yeah. Jeffrey Boyd, our guest for a couple more minutes. People listening to this saying, boy, this guy sounds energized, sounds great, saying all the right things. But you know what? I've been here a long time, and I've heard other great politicians come along and say all these great things, and the city continues to lose population. Mm-hmm. A little bit of good news with the schools, but still a long way to go. And you know what? It's nice, but you've lost me a long time ago. Well, what do you say to those people?
Well, what I would say is let's have hope, and let's stop doing what we've always done. The status quo and establishment candidates is not going to help St. Louis rise. It's time for somebody fresh, that has new ideas, and it's not going to do it the same old way. And that's going to be a mayor for all people. Leadership is not about doing the fluff stuff. It's about the tough stuff. We have to make choices that's in the benefit of everybody and not a select group. I don't get caught up in other people's agendas. We have to move on an agenda that's in the best interest of the city of St. Louis. I have a proven track record. My wife and I are investing our personal dollars in our neighborhood. We are showing people, if I want you to come and bring a business to the 22nd Ward, I'm saying, McGraw, I'm doing it. I'm not trying to throw my money away. I'm leading by example. We've been providing affordable housing in that neighborhood, quality affordable housing that people can be proud of for over 26 years. We're investing our money in that neighborhood. No other candidate that's running is personally, financially invested in their wards. I am. And I want to take this energy, this enthusiasm, and my experience to room 200 and be the best mayor the city of St. Louis have ever had.
What are the two businesses you and your wife have started?
We started two small businesses called The Best Place Auto Sales and The Best Place Event Space, located at 5736 Martin Luther King Drive, just east of Goodfellow.
So it's a car dealership, and what's the second one?
An event space where people can come have live entertainment, celebrations, meetings, and we're open to the public for free if you're providing some information that we can use to increase our quality of life.
Interesting. The Jeffrey Boyd, our guest, mayor for St. Louis, March 7th. I'm going to end with the first question I asked. You don't have as big a name recognition. You don't have the funds. You don't have the press, right? You're not the first name off of people's lips when they talk about the mayor of St. Louis, Jeffrey Boyd. How can you get enough people to get you through the primary?
Well, certainly momentum is high right now. The money is coming. I think we're starting to get there. We're starting to get there. Everywhere we go, people are calling my name. The forum was a good forum yesterday. People are coming up. They're saying, hey, man, I like what you have to say. See, the difference between me and everybody else is they're just saying what people want to hear, what they think people want to hear. I'm talking about policy and I'm talking about solutions. And that's setting me apart. And people are excited about that. The status quo is not going to help us rise to the next level. And I'm asking people, check me out at jeffreyboydformayor.com. Follow me on Twitter, Jeff Boyd for Mayor. Call me 314-339-6065. Get involved in the campaign. Let's not let the establishment and the status quo prevail.
Are you, a couple quick things. Are you in favor of the north-south metro expansion?
I am.
Are you in favor of the MLS stadium? Or I should say, are you in favor of putting it on the ballot so the people can vote?
That's coming up this week. I haven't made my final decision, but I think we can't go wrong if we allow the people to vote on it, because it's the people's money at the end of the day, and I think that's what democracy is all about.
Jeffrey Boyd for mayor, jeffreyboydformayor.com. If you become mayor, when we ask you to come on the show, will you come on the show, or will you duck my very tough questions?
I would be upset if I didn't get an invitation.
All right, fair enough. There you go. Jeffrey Boyd, mayor for St. Louis. You're always welcome here. Thanks for coming in.
And thank you so much for having me.
922, Big 550, KTRS.